This is not just another crime story. This is a story of silence, of deception, of a baby whose final cries were heard by no one who could save him. A child who should have been protected, loved, and cherished, but instead was hidden behind lies until it was too late. Tonight, we pull back the curtain on the final hours of Baby Emmanuel, hours that revealed disturbing truths about the very people society trusted the most, his own parents. From the beginning, the story fed to the public was carefully crafted. Emmanuel's parents presented themselves as devastated, broken, and consumed by grief. They stood before cameras and neighbors with the faces of victims, but behind closed doors, behind a carefully chosen words, the reality was far different. For days, the community believed their story, but what investigators, neighbors, and recordings would later reveal tells us something far more unsettling, that the Haros weren't just hiding tragedy, they were hiding their role in it. The Haros lived in a quiet home, on a street where everyone thought they knew each other. From the outside, their lives looked ordinary. But inside those walls, neighbors had heard things that didn't sit right, raised voices at night, slamming doors, arguments that seemed to grow louder as time went on. Yet no one thought the danger would ever extend to their child. And that's where society failed. We chose not to question. We chose silence. And that silence cost Emmanuel his life. When the news broke, the community was in shock, but one neighbor in particular was shaken to her core, not because she couldn't believe it happened, but because she had heard enough in the days before to know something was wrong. She never said anything, and when the weight of the truth came down, she made a desperate phone call. That call, obtained exclusively, reveals her raw emotion. You can hear the guilt, the pain, the recognition that she ignored warning signs that now can never be undone. This is the voice of a woman who lived across the street, someone who saw the Haros nearly every day, who smiled at them, who thought everything was fine, and yet she carried doubts. Now listen carefully.
I can't imagine, I try to put myself in that. I'm like, I know they're up. We were like, we know they're up. They're not sleeping. We were up too. And we're just like,
we're exhausted.
I know, I bet.
Partially delusional.
Where were you at when this happened?
I was at the park. I was at the park watching my son play football. Well, I had her
and then I take the baby.
Yeah, that's how I am too. I go to the store.
It was horrible.
Yeah. It does.
The worst feeling ever.
It is.
Been balling on
No, you're just numb right now.
Yeah.
You're just numb,
The way the cops were treating us was horrible.
Really?
Yeah, it's been a whole.
You want to let us know nothing?
There are a lot of good cops there. I'm not saying anything.
Yeah.
They're just doing their job, but it's a horrible feeling,
No, yeah. So I seen on the picture like your baby was something wrong with the eyes. Is that what they're saying?
A little baby eye.
Okay.
But it's getting corrected, and he was correcting.
No, he was on no medication or nothing. Okay, so.
He's a healthy baby, so his little eye sometimes goes.
Yeah, my daughter was like that too. Yeah. So.
She was on medication for her eyes?
Yeah.
What was she?
Well, she had a genetic. It was a genetic disease. It was in December. That's when it's cold,
That's his birthday.
The neighbor's voice is unsteady, shaking as she says, "When I heard the news, I just couldn't believe it. That baby, I saw him just days before, and they were smiling, acting like everything was normal. They lied to everyone. They lied to us. I remember hearing sounds that night, but I told myself it was nothing. I keep asking, how could I ignore that? How could I stay quiet?" Her words capture the reality of this case better than any police report could, because the truth is, the Haros were skilled at deception. They wore masks of normalcy while chaos unfolded inside their home. They laughed with neighbors. They waved at strangers. They pretended to be the perfect family. But when it mattered most, when their child needed them the most, they turned away from their responsibilities as parents and replaced them with lies. We have to ask ourselves, what kind of parents can hold a child in their arms, then face the world with smiles and excuses? What kind of people can look their community in the eye knowing that their child is gone because of choices they made? These are not questions for the Haros alone. These are questions for us as a society, because it's easier to believe the surface, to accept what we're told, than it is to look deeper and confront uncomfortable truths. And Baby Emmanuel paid the ultimate price for our willingness to look away. In the aftermath, contradictions began piling up. The parents' statements to police didn't match what neighbors described. The timeline of their movements didn't align with phone records. Surveillance footage from a nearby street contradicted their alibis. And yet for days, the official narrative remained that Emmanuel's death was an accident that conveniently erased all responsibility from those who should have been protecting him. But as evidence mounted, that word accident became impossible to accept. What investigators found suggested much more than negligence. Messages sent between the parents revealed tensions, anger, and blame. They were at odds with each other even as they tried to present a united front to the public. It was not the portrait of grieving parents, but of two people desperately trying to maintain a facade while their lies unraveled around them. And the deeper police dug, the more troubling the discoveries became. It's important to understand the weight of what this means. When parents lie about the death of their own child, it raises questions not just about their character, but about the environment in which Emmanuel lived his short life. Did neighbors miss the signs because they didn't want to see them? Did authorities fail to intervene when red flags appeared? These failures ripple outward. They don't just tell us about one family, they tell us about an entire system that waits until tragedy strikes before asking hard questions. And those hard questions still remain. Why did the Haros feel so confident in deceiving the public? Why did they believe their story would hold? What really happened inside that house in Emmanuel's final hours? These are not details to be brushed aside. These are the keys to understanding how a child could go from being alive and seen just days before to gone without explanation. As this story unfolds, more voices are stepping forward. Neighbors who once stayed quiet are admitting they heard more than they told police. Others confess they saw behavior that seemed strange but didn't want to get involved. Every new piece of testimony paints a clearer picture. Emmanuel's death wasn't sudden. It wasn't without warning. It was surrounded by signs that were ignored, overlooked, or deliberately concealed. The Haros' lies were not only to the public, they were to each other. Arguments over responsibility, guilt, and fear spilled into private conversations that investigators would later uncover. These revelations show us not just a fractured family, but a fractured truth. A truth that Emmanuel will never be able to tell himself, and that's why it must be told for him. If you're watching this now, this is not just information. This is a call to awareness. Stories like Emmanuel's should not fade from memory once the cameras turn away. They should force us to recognize how fragile protection is for children. And the more people who hear it, the harder it becomes for cases like this to vanish into silence. So I encourage you, subscribe, share, and stay with this investigation. The truth must reach out beyond these walls, because Emmanuel's story is not only about what happened in one home, it's about how many homes could be hiding the same secrets. As investigators press forward, new documents, recordings, and testimonies are emerging. The timeline of Emmanuel's final hours is being pieced together hour by hour, moment by moment. And the more those pieces fall into place, the more disturbing the picture becomes. What investigators are finding is not just tragedy, it's betrayal. And betrayal, once exposed, cannot be ignored. This is the beginning of a case that challenges everything we thought we knew about the Haro family. It challenges what we believe about neighbors who stay silent. It challenges the systems that failed to step in. And it forces us to ask, how many more children will suffer before the truth matters enough to act? The answers are still unfolding. The story is still being written. And tonight, as we continue to uncover more, one fact remains unshakable. Baby Emmanuel should still be alive. And the lies that surrounded him must not be allowed to silence his truth.